Welcome to episode 192 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Slowly but surely making our way to 200 episodes. Slowly but surely. Now the debate over the course of the week. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Glad to have you on board. It's nice to have you here. Share with a friend, right? If you watch the news this week, right? And I want this episode is about duality. Let me come out the gate and talk about this, right? It's about duality. Plenty duality in this thing. And if you follow politicians and people who are interested in making me divided and separate, it's easy to forget what we really are, and where we really come from. And boy, let me tell you something, the greatness of this place, we go really find out when we try to stop trying to separate it's black from white, from Indian to Trinidad, from Tobago. The day we go back to the villages that we really come from and live the way we really live as Trinidadians, all that go down, So you want to get into some duality? If there was an unlikely combination in soca and soul, we call it soca and calypso, that would have been it, right? Who would have thought you would have heard Sonny Man, General Grant, and Dennis Belfort in one combination? But I think it's a good song for you to open with because that resembles we more than this talk I see about coat of arms and if we should remove the boats. I only know my position on removing the boats and them kind of thing. They didn't want to put me in charge of no committee like this. If they put me in charge of a committee like this, all they want to talk about forgetting history. Is the fastest you're going to see you forget a lot of history if you put me in charge of any committee. Responsible for naming thing, renaming thing, telling true story, revisionist history. Or they could put me in charge of that. I'm like, where you sign up for them kind of work? Where you sign up for them kind of work? I saw over the course of the week this debate about moving the what do they call the thing again? The margarita, the martini, whatever the three boat name. The debate about moving them three boats as if we care about these three boats off of the thing and put in a steel pan. Start to go down the road of divisiveness and division. Which, boy, listen, Trinidad and Tobago is a place where you could bet your bottom dollar they have a few people who very interested in pushing these kind of narratives. So any chance they get to talk about it or to carry it down that road, they will carry it down the road. So in me posting about this during the course of the week, which again I don't like to do, I'd rather come here and talk where I could just distill my thoughts, spend some time, figure out exactly what I want to say rather than posting and have people respond. But one of the responses I saw from a friend of mine who grew up in St. James with me, and St. James is a good place to study, and I'm sure the place you grew up to, about how people just grow up together. And the politics, how we vote is not how we party kind of thing, right? And I post the thing about the boat. Listen, if you listen to me long enough, you know I glad the boat's gone. I find the helm should go. I understand the tree on top is from Tobago now. I starting to get a little thing pieced together. But wherever that shield come from, that look like a shield of wickedness. They should redo the whole thing from start, right? And we find one of the men responsible for it. So we're gonna talk about that today too. But when you talk against this thing, it's funny how quick some people are to defend the colonial master. You know, the white man do a job on me, the white man do a job on me, they do a job on me. the whole idea of divide and conquer, it works so well because when you make things like make moves like this, which I see to be very, very simple. A debate this starts up about thing, and bet your bottom dollar the debate going down racial lines, it is going to degenerate into racial arguments at some point in time, right? And like I said last week, we find with purpose, right? With purpose is to just remind people, because as an individual, I'm very, very forgetful, right? I'm very forgetful. But as a country or institution or a nation, we even more forgetful. So let me do some reminding. Let me play my role here this week, because this stupidity, this nonsense notion that Steelpan is African and not of Indian, and Tassa is Indian and not of Africa. Garbage, nonsense, foolishness. Sanitation. What was another synonym for rubbish? Rubbish is nonsense. I don't know where it come from and what there is that allowing that to continue. And one of my fears and one of the things that has drive me to do this is that the world starts when you're born. So when I look at the 80s, it's almost like when you come here, I know the 80s has throwback music. So when I go now and I hear people, the DJs say, boy, we're going to play some old school. And I hear the old school is from 2014-15. You start to realize that, or accept that the world really starts when people born. So my son is 11, 12. 12 is happy belated birthday, boy, man now turn 12 or so, thereabout. And for him, understand that what he's going to call real old school is Marshall and them kind of thing. What we find current, not big truck Marshall, you know. He going to find last year Marshall and year before Marshall. That is what he going to refer to as old school, because the world starts when you arrive. Everything else is song like, I tell you, when they used to tell me about black and white and stuff, I didn't realize it was TV they're talking about. You know? I thought the whole world was black and white and then color appear magically one day. I was the smartest child. So it's a dangerous thing to put out notions there. Like Indian people don't like Steelpan and they're not of Steelpan and that's an African thing. So that when you move the three boats, what do you call them, fishing boat? When you move them and you put the Steelpan, that's an African thing, and now it is excluding Indian people. That is a dangerous notion. I can't let that continue. I can't let that stay out there, because people who hear this stupidity now that going on in the papers over the last week, young people are saying, and not me and you old hardback people who know different. The younger people today could easily believe that and run with that, and then that become the reality. Just like how now it is important for us to, whatever you want to call it, write history, we must, I more call it, tell the story from our viewpoint. It's important for us to do that today. But when you leave debates like these out in the open and troublemakers come and talk nonsense, and then nonsense start to become fact, we have a problem. You understand? We have an issue, because the idea that our culture is this and our culture is our culture. The notion that there's some racial line about where our culture is start and where it stop, and what belongs to Indian and what belongs to Syrian and what belongs to Chinese and what belongs to blah. It does not exist. It certainly don't exist in the way we operate on a day-to-day basis. So I want to read for you one of the troublemaking articles here. It's a little Akash Samaru from The Guardian. It's a little Akash was in my class here. Association. Tassa more local than Steelpan. Minister and Trinidadian boss disagree as coat of arms debate rages. I thought this was done. You know what I mean? I thought the boats on them sync we're good to go. From Carrat Shed, it says the Tassa Association of Trinidad and Tobago has joined the debate on the altering of the coat of arms, boldly claiming that the Tassa drum is more of a local instrument than the Steelpan. Tassa assertion came hours after Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley stated the simple reason for the Steelpan The simple reason the Steelpan was considered for the new coat of arms, where it will replace Columbus's 3 ships, is because that instrument was invented here and is indigenous to this country. I thought this was widely accepted, but what the hell I know? I also thought Steelpan was our national instrument, which apparently just changed recently, right? Dr. Keith Rowley made the comment during the PNM's La Hoquita Talparo constituency conference at Phase 2 La Hoquita on Tuesday night, where he noted that as much as people may like the Tassa and other instruments, their origins are from other countries. I also thought that was common knowledge. But while acknowledging and supporting the Steelpan as the country's first national instrument, TAT said yesterday no part of the steel drum is from Trinidad and Tobago, as it is fully imported. It is a fully imported metal container that came from other countries into Trinidad. In contrast, TAT said the Tassa, which is also played every day in this country, is fully made with no imported materials. The skin is from our local When last the president of when last he see a Tassa drum? The skin is made from our local goat, sheep, or deer. The sticks are made from local wild sugarcane. The bowl is made from TNT clay. When last this man see a Tassa drum? Tassa has come a long way. I wonder if you have one. The bowl is made from TNT clay and the base is made from the mango tree. Tat said, adding that even the tambu bamboo instrument is more indigenous to this country than the Steelpan. Offering its version of the history of Steelpan, Tat said, what was done in Trinidad with the imported steel drums was the retuning and fine-tuning of the steel drum / pan into a full musical instrument. Oh, you acknowledge that. Okay, I got you. Tat claimed the imported steel drum metal container already came with a sound. It's true. I forget it now, but before it was developed into the Steelpan, I think the first step of it was a dudup. And what they used to beat is, he have it here actually. Tat claimed the imported steel drum metal container already came with a sound. However, it thanked the nation's ancestors for rebelling against their colonial masters to set off a chain of events which led to the creation of Steelpan. I want to read this again. He said it thanked the nation's ancestors for rebelling against the colonial masters to set off a chain of events which led to... So you don't see the removal of the boats as the same rebellion against the colonial masters? Somewhere along the line, instead of trying to shift the debate to say we should have the Steelpan and the Tassa, we let the colonial master get under his skin, and now we're debating the Steelpan or the Tassa. What you should be talking about is, great, we have the Steelpan there. How we go get the Tassa there? How we go get tambu bamboo? I don't understand where the thing shift. But anyway, if the colonial rulers did not ban the sound of what they call noisy sounds of the bamboo and biscuit tins, accusing the slaves of communicating via those instruments, today we would not have known the steel drum as an instrument as we know it, because the discarded empty steel drums were then used and started with a two-note called the dudup, right? However, even with that historical context, Tat maintained, to compare both instruments, it's clear the steel drum is a foreign metal instrument and the Tassa is a 100% local instrument. This is the problem. This is the issue. This is what this episode is dedicated to. Randall Mitchell disagreed, right? But I want to voice my own disagreement with his statement. One of the things that the colonial master was very good at, let me talk about African ancestry for a minute. You see this thing and you look at it in slavery or enslavement in the South in America. You will hear a lot of discussion about the house Negro versus the field Negro. Pay some attention to that, right? Just Google it. If you never hear about, as I said, the world starts when you're born, right? So I'm going to assume you're talking to people who never hear about nothing before. Just Google it and understand what that separation did. Understand what that separation did. Understand that whole notion of light-skinned blacks versus dark-skinned blacks, or blacks who talk proper versus blacks who don't know how to talk proper English and so on. I just want you to pay a little bit of attention to that. And here in the Caribbean, because it had two different journeys for people to come here under oppressive regimes, the same set of regimes bring both over here under different circumstances, but they're both oppressive. So this notion that slavery is this and indentureship is this, so that one starts to become better than the other, that is not found in me talking to an Indian partner about something. I go salute my boy Brian here, man. That is not found in Brian looking at me. That is found in the politics itself, which driven, and the politics is a direct derivative of that colonial mastery, if you want to call it that, right? Because our political systems, our legal systems, they are still hand-me-downs from that same colonial framing. A matter of fact, it is the same. It's the same exact thing. To the point where Cartel had to go England to find out he free. We so like mastery. We more comfortable when we have a master, sometimes. So instead of the Tassa Association of Trinidad and Tobago writing an article or coming out and making statements that say, great, I like the direction we're heading here because all them boats should go. Because if there was a boat on that coat of arms that was one of the boats that brought indentured laborers from India, the celebration around moving that steel, that and putting Tassa or anything else there, I don't care. I almost don't care what they put. I want them to put something that is of Trinidad and Tobago. So instead of the Tassa Association coming and say, great, good move, the thing still has space. It still has space, right? It has space on it. Let we put a Tassa, let we put a tambo bamboo. Let us continue to build and celebrate the things that we celebrate. A glad Steelpan. You could never tell me that it could be a good thing that the head of the Tassa Association of Trinidad and Tobago could ever try to call into disrepute if pan is a local instrument or not. And the people who are part of the Tassa Association should be moving to remove this president. Whoever is the person who's making these kind of statements should not be the head of no association of nothing local. The people in there, that's dangerous rhetoric. Dangerous rhetoric. All it is divisive. Instead of just saying, hey, move that, wherever the next thing is, the shield, the face mask, move that. And I find it's a good space to put the Tassa. I agree with everything that he say about the Tassa. But I can't believe that we entertain this nonsense where, in other words, to make yourself look good or to make the Tassa look important, which to me it done good and it's supremely important in the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. Your idea to do that is to tear down the Steelpan. You know what I mean? I find it to be very disrespectful, and anybody who is a part of that institution, if only not calling for the person who making this statement, because this I'm not seeing something that's saying, well, Corey Shepherd, the head of the Tassa Association, saying this. All it's saying is the Tassa Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I also find this, Akash, very strange. I find this strange. I'm not sure if this is you writing the article or you just take what was presented to you, but who is the person? We want to know who it is called for this. Who it is saying this foolishness. This is nonsense. Nonsense. So you're planting a seed now to say Steelpan from here, Tassa from here. What is this notion of one being better than the next? When you have two things that complement each other supremely well, and two things that are equally of us. Two things that the argument that the Prime Minister or the government today making is that the Steelpan was invented here. I don't know that they need a second argument for that. That is clear. It is the only instrument that recognized as an instrument that was invented in Trinidad and Tobago. If the Tassa Association have anything that says, okay, we invented this here, focus on that, bring that to the forefront. Let we register that and let we patent that and let we make sure that we own too. Let us have two instruments that's invented here. Why it had to be one at the expense of the other? So I just here in my little role, you know what I mean? In my role to dispel some of this foolishness and this barbershop talk and this garbage. I find it to be insulting because I listened to something during the course of this week where Carlisle Chang, if you know the name, right? A designer of his day, right? Was one of the people who was on the committee. He was on the committee that was responsible for putting together the the coat of arms, right? And it was an interesting interview. Now, granted, this interview is from a long time ago, right? And of course, depend on Dominic Kalipas. I had to put these things out there to inform people because I did not, to tell you the truth, I talked about this last week. I didn't even think of the, who is the person who invent or designed the coat of arms. And it's a knock on me too, right? I had to take responsibility for that because sometimes we look at these national emblems as if it born. So, sometimes we forget that a man designed this, somebody had to come up with some ideas and say, let me design it. And I want to salute to Carrat Shed. Because the man do the best he could with what he had at the time. And listen, the committee that they pulled together to do the I can't play the whole interview. Please find Dominic Kalipasad and go and look at the whole interview, right? It's on his Instagram and you'll see him talking. And he shame of the thing he come up with, but he spoke a lot about the fact that there was a committee that was put together to do this thing. They came to his art studio up on Frederick Street. And when he had to Frederick Street, he said for meetings and ideas and so on. And he said, man didn't do a damn thing. Including George Bailey, famous bassman George Bailey. He said, come, the first meeting, never come back again. He said, all the rest of them used to come, eat a sandwich. And when he say, only like this, they say, yes, Carly. So poor Carly. Only what Carly to do. Carly come up with something nice that is very representative of Trinidad and Tobago as we found our independence at the time. I think he do a great job. I like we coat of arms. I like how it is look. He talk about the national flag, right? In terms of design, because he also had to design the national flag. One thing that I found that stood out, and I heard Maurice Burke talking about this idea of the national flag and not wanting to change it. Salute Maurice of sliced bread fame, right? Maurice was saying he don't like the idea of changing the national flag. I also don't like it. And I want to keep in mind that even though some of the things on the emblem come from the colonial world, it's designed by a Trinidadian, so almost by default I love it. But I'm not against the idea of updating it. I don't know that it erases it, because Paul school children now, they got to learn that the coat of arms was this up to this day, and now they change it to the Steelpan. Thank God me not to learn that. Remember them thing? When they changed thing and you had to go and figure out, well, what used to be on the steel on the coat of arms before the Tassa, the tambu bamboo, and the pan, and you have to remember now. Oh Lord, you can't remember none of them things when the time comes. But one of the things I like that he said in the interview was that a big part of what he wanted to accomplish with the design of the national flag was that any school child could draw it. I find that to be an important thing, and it shows you, like, when you do work, right, and you put work out there, you publish something, or you create something, or you design something, or you make something, and that thing could stand up 50-something years. We run up to independence right now, where I pass places today on the way to work and flags up already, you know what I mean? People have the flags on display for independence. That must be a very, very proud thing for Carrat Shed, his descendants and so on, to be able to say, hey, my father designed that, my grandfather designed that, I do that work, you know what I mean? And you hear him talk about, well, one, his frustration with the process, because apparently the people come on the game thing to do and they leave him to do it. But I'm glad that he did something that every school child could try and draw. They have an explanation behind the parts, you know what I mean? He and also about some of the willy-nilly nature of some of the explanations about what the meaning of the colors on the national flag and so on. But we want to salute him. We want to salute him for his work towards that. And we want to call local designers of his stature today. What would be the equivalent of the Carrat Shed or the George Bailey or the Leroy Clarks and so on today that could come together and form a committee? So we could forget the nonsense this Tassa man talking and find a rightful place to do the Tassa. And I even saw somebody say, hey, they have no reason for a coat of arms to resemble a shield and a this and a that. Even that of itself is colonial. Maybe it's a good idea, a good time to look at the design of the whole thing and come up with what we feel it should be called, it should be what the name should be, what it should look like, and so on. And put Tassa right next to Pan. Why not? It is. Even though Tassa not invented here, at least hopefully it is. If I could come and prove something that it is, two better than one. But if in fact it isn't, I don't see it as any less Trinidadian on the Steelpan, and I would love to have it represented as part of our national emblems, because it is of us. And as I play the music today to suit this discussion of duality.
It gives me great pleasure this evening to welcome to the Palladium Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar.
Bilia chamkegi, soka, Bilia chamkegi, soka, give me soka, boy give me soka, flashing back at me. But when I send my letter, she would send no answer. So I hit the record shops. Indian records are buy up. When I reach my girl, she said stop, Ricky stop. She said, Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Tickle me with a love way, soca me till I say. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. How na girl? So me charge me for being racist and tell me don't take them chance with she. Don't let me catch you in that foolishness. Trying to reach the Indian in me. Like you into politics, boy you coming on the tricks. Boy I'm a Trinidadian, I like soca action. Take your Mohammed Rafi and bring Shkota on Bali. Only then you'll be talking to me. Yes Ricky, she say Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Tickle me with a laugh way, soca me till I say. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Tickle me with a laugh way, soca me till I say. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Give me soca. Bini a chum kegi. Boy, give me soca. Bini a chum kegi. Give me soca. Boy, give me soca. So me jump up, me into a corner. She really catch me offside that night. For so much years was the village joker. I don't know since when she gets so bright. Must be university or them trips to Miami that makes she draw a border between roots and culture. She's a liberated soul. She'd be going she passport. I feel small like a port. She says small, you come short. Just Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca. Please tickle me with a love way. Soca me till I say. Holy Lata Mangeshkar, give me soca.
I want to hear loud voices calling for the removal of whoever in the TAT responsible for that ridiculous statement and the whole notion, that whole divisive notion they're trying to push. I'm from St. James, Tassa belong to me. I'm from St. James and Pan belong to me. I justify to nobody nothing to put a Tassa on a listen. I can't wait for the day. Maybe when the Steelpan go for independence, the Tassa go reach for the Republic, you know what I mean? According to the youths of today, I here for that. I here for it. I like it. Now, as much as the notion, because when you see what follows on social media and why these rhetoric's dangerous, right? Social media, of course, follow and went down a line almost as if to say, here what's going on. Pan is for black people and Tassa is for Indian people. Not, when they put the steel pan on the thing, nobody's saying I'm not African. Steel pan is from Trinidad and Tobago. When the debate starts about Tassa, nobody's saying I'm more Indian. Tassa is of Trinidad and Tobago. But of course, social media read what they want to read into it. And I find it's so obvious, it's so easy to see. So if you are the head of one of these institutions, if I were them, I would be very careful about the way I phrase statements. In other words, I put in things out there to unite rather than to divide. And this idea that Steelpan is anything other than Trinidadian, I want to dispel that myth and that. So, you know, let me look into some of the greats or the greatest people in the history of Pan, just to respond to some of the Facebook comments that seem to want to go down that road, right?
I'm Lennox Bobby Mohammed. I'm former leader and arranger, arranging music for the Guinness Cavaliers Steel Band. I'm a musician and arrange for other bands too and all that. I'm happy to have been picked by God or chosen by God to do music, you know. I mean, he gave everybody a different field, and I am so grateful that he chose me to do music in this field. I want to thank Mr. Hollis Clifton so much for coming here.
I just want to play. That's the voice of a man by the name of Lennox Bobby Mohammed. I didn't know the name Bobby Mohammed by chance. David rather have a song by the name of Engine Room, which I've played here many times. I will spare from that. Right now, right? But it have a part of the song that says Bobby Mohammed with the bell, right? So, you know it, and there's a road in San Fernando. Salute to everybody who in charge of San Fernando, right? I want to kind of give the bigger Regrello the credit, right? Being the mayor of San Fernando. I'm not sure I'm sure many people came before him and started to do that. But just like how we could remove the colonial pass being removed piece by piece in San Fernando, where they have a street by the name of Lennox Bobby Mohammed Street. I like it a lot. Lennox Mohammed was born 2nd of June 1942 in Siparia. His family moved to Monrepo in San Fernando when he was 9 years old. He attended Presentation College. I'm not really the type of person who likes to come here and talk a lot about Presentation College and so on, right? You know what I mean? As a man of Fatima myself, this president has got a little while, but salute. He attended Presentation College and was a founding member of the Gondoliers Steel Band. He left and founded Cavaliers in 1961 with 18 parents. Later that year, Gondoliers and the Cavaliers faced each other in a competition to win sponsorship from Guinness Caribbean Limited, with the Cavaliers winning. The Cavaliers went on to win the 1964 Southern Steel Band competition. In 1965, the Cavaliers took first place in Panorama competition, making Lennox Bobby Mohammed the youngest arranger to ever win Panorama. After placing second in 1996, Mohammed and the Cavaliers finished first again in 1967. Mohammed was awarded with the Gold Hummingbird Medal in 1992. In 2019, Harris Promenade East Street. Me know who named Harris. But if you had a chance, go and Google Lord Harris, right? If you had, me know this Lord Harris, no, because nobody know Lord to me. But you go and Google Lord Harris and see who he be. But the Harris Promenade East Street in San Fernando was renamed Lennox Bobby Mohammed Street in his honor. Mohammed died on 25th of May 2021 at at San Fernando General Hospital. Funeral held on the 1st of June. So just in case, I reading things that commonly known to some but completely unknown to others. And I don't want you to feel like I'm just picking out a random person. Eh? If you feel like it's just a random person I'm picking out, I want you to go and ask somebody. You know, they say better ask somebody. Go and ask somebody who he was and what his contribution was to the steel band movement. Because if they have people out there who want to put out these kind of narratives as if steel band is for anybody who not from anybody from Trinidad can be a part of steel band and so on, that them is dangerous narratives. Dangerous narratives. So if I have a little work to do to come here and dispel them things, let me do it. And I myself, when I hear that song Engine Room, I talk about how much I love this song. And a part of the reason I love this song so much is because there's a third verse in that Engine Room song where David rather take his time and structure a verse dedicated to several different pan men and call them by name, Iron Men, Pan Men, Arrangers, and so on, right? And we can't let people know, because those things were a long time ago. It come like the people now want to erase that and put out their own history. That I don't know what was the agenda, or what's exactly they're trying to achieve, or what they're trying to suit, but better I come and do a little work to let it be known what Steelpan was about. Anybody ever hear about a gentleman by the name of Jit Samaru? want somebody. When I play them kind of thing, right? You know, I picture, I always remember somebody telling me, listen, when I go in from Brooklyn to so and so on the train every morning, I listen to your podcast and when some of our music, I picture people who hear them kind of sweet pan who missing home. Salute to the great Jit Samaru. We just here to dispel notions, and that's all we really come to do today. So I want to tell you that again. Just as with Lennox Bobby Muhammad, we ain't talking about. I'm not trying to come here and say, you know, people like to use the exception to explain the rule to say, well, it's have a, or you know, the white people like to say, I have a black friend. I have a, you know, they like to talk about the one black friend and to tell you it's no racism. I want to tell you it's far from that, right? Because what I'm pulling out here is some of the, I'm not saying that these were the two Indian people involved in Pan and use this as justification. What I'm pulling out for you here is the greats, the top of the line, cream of the crop. And Jit Samaru was cream of the crop. Jit Samaru was no average man. I hear people talk about Jit Samaru almost in passing. Like they say, yeah, Jit Samaru was in Pan too, so you can't just say Pan. Jit Samaru, if you didn't know, for the longest while held the title as being the arranger who has won the most panorama titles. I come here and talk about Kitchener a lot, right? How Kitchener has so much song that win panorama. The single arranger for the longest while who would have won the most panoramas was Jit Samaru. He was recently, I'm going to say recently, within the last decade, joined by the great Leon Smooth Edwards. No disrespect there at all. And they have some great accomplishments in Pan, but still, right now, Jit Samaru has 9 panorama wins. With a little known band by the name of Amoco Renegades or BP Renegades or whichever company Renegades you want to call them, right? Little known band by the name of Renegades. You want to know Renegades? So when you're passing Renegades Panyard and you're seeing people waving from the window and stuff, a lot of Renegade success came from the man Jit Samaru. Right? So fitting that we could hear some words from Jit Samaru right here today, right? And I want you to hear what Jit Samaru said.
I came from a very poor family and I couldn't afford another instrument, another musical instrument. So and that was a free opportunity to go into a steel band and have the use of the pans free and gain a lot of knowledge within the pans. So I mean, I am a pan man in the true sense that I really got everything from there.
Pan man in the true sense. Hear what he say? And it's such an important thing that he say. He say he came from a very poor family and he loved music but couldn't afford any other instrument. So that is what he used. This same thing that this man from the Tassa Association come to discount to say, well, that's some important thing that somebody do, ta. And again, always try to, you gotta listen for the dog whistling and also try to link it back to escape to slavery and between ancestors, all that, whatever true about that is true. But the idea that it's exclusive to any one group or any one race or anyone, what it really is, and going back to what Dominic Kalipa said was talking about the roots of Pan last time, was it was for poor people. You know what I mean? The poorest class of people figure something out. And there's such an important lesson to be learned in that, right? Because I do classes sometimes on innovation and entrepreneurship, right? And most innovation comes out of struggle. It's like, and I'm not talking innovation here in terms of come up with something and you have a business that blow up big. I'm talking about Facebook level innovation. I'm talking about the bulk of innovation as a whole. You have to figure something out. It comes from the survival instinct that we have as humans. When you see in that struggle, you go in and get creative and try to figure out something to solve whatever the problems you have. When you see you're born in socks and grow. What the Bible? Long time ago, the Bible, and what it say? It's easier for something to enter through a needle light and what they're trying to say is that when you accumulate wealth in life, right? The money, the influence, the power you have could fix a lot of the problems that you would have, which is great. That's good. Good for you, right? But when you don't have that money or that power or that influence to fix things, you had to start the part of your brain that had to figure something out. Going to fire more than the person who have everything easy and so on at their fingertips. So a lot of what we call innovation comes out of struggle. So I am proud as a Trinidadian to see the Steelpan on our coat of arms. and I have some more from Jit to play for you, right? Because Jit Samaru wasn't just an arranger for the for Amoko Renegades, mind drawing a blank there for Amoko Renegades, right? Jet Samaru also had a band by the name of the Samaru Jets. So good all your memories. All you could remember the Samaru Jets. I want to play this one for you. We by the time you're listening to this, we right up on Independence Day in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Right up on it. So, and the lyrics to this song so pertinent to this topic. As I leave this topic, I want to play another piece for you. This might be one of the first episodes I play so much panel, and so by so much I mean two, right? But this is the Samaru Jets playing a song that, if we're feeling froggy, right, and we done changing quarter arms, and we done looking at changing flag and thing, if we decide to change anthem, it could be this. If you don't know the song, stick around to the end of the episode, right? I will close the episode with the original song, right? If you don't know the song. If you don't know it, you ain't know, right? So stick around to the end of the episode and you'll see. Last thing on this topic, right? Careful. Because this is what Jet Samaru say. I's a poor man trying to figure out something. Black Stallion have a song about that, right? With sufferers ain't care who stayed and who plays and who care. Sufferers ain't care about skin color and all them kind of thing. A lot of things that come down to the whole idea of divide and conquer is really the lowest socioeconomic groups that they fall into that divide and conquer thing, right? We can talk about that next week, right? I want to say salute, going from the lowest socioeconomic groups to some of the highest, right? Like we talk business for a while, and a long time we talk about some business and all I feel. Salute to the great Lawrence Duprey. And rest in peace to him. Condolences to his family and so on. From Asha Javid, Lawrence Duprey, former chairman of CL Financial and the Colonial Life Insurance Company, CLICO, has died at the age of 89. And last year, as his health deteriorated, he moved back to Trinidad and Tobago from Miami with his wife, Sylvia. He died at a health facility in Port of Spain yesterday evening. When he returned to Trinidad, former CLICO agent and former mayor of San Fernando, Ian Atterley, hosted a welcome home party with former agents last June at his establishment, Atterley's by the Park Restaurant. Atterley described him as a giant of a man who spent the last 15 years of his life trying to regain some element of the billion-dollar empire he built. He died a lonely man. Sad. He said it was bittersweet for Duprey that all the companies and ventures he had embarked upon had turned around and were now profitable. The state adequately compensated for its liquidity injection, but CL Financial remained in liquidation. If I could read, this would be good. Learning to read. Anybody's do little reading courses on them kind of thing. It's be rough, Duprey remains the largest. It remained in liquidation with the conglomerate now dismantled and sold off in pieces. Duprey remains the largest shareholder in CL Financial, but with a company in liquidation, it would be the last to get anything from the earnings. In January 2009, when the Duprey approached the government, cap in hand, the government immediately stepped up to curb any systemic risk to the country's financial state. The attractive interest rates had attracted over 25,000 people to invest billions in CLICO's breadth and stretched from credit unions to prime state enterprises to owing millions to local banks. Duprey had described his empire, which comprised of some 65 companies in 32 countries, as being caught up in a perfect storm of economic collapse. But the government also had to inject sums to top up the starved statutory fund and meet the requirements of policyholders who had opted out of business with CLICO. In turn, the assets of CL Financial were used as security for the injection. The majority of the government's $30 billion bailout was spent on paying back policyholders of CLICO's British American Executive Flexible Premium Annuity. I remember this EFPA, which was a facility created by CLICO to raise money and bond above market annual interest rate of 10%. That's right. I remember them quoting 10 and 11% at a point in time. When last you hear interest rate like that, 10 and 11%? The best plan ain't going nowhere close to that. Look for 6 something. A commission inquiry into the collapse of CLICO and related subsidiaries, as well as the Hindu Credit Union, was initiated by the states. The revelations at the commission was startling. $1 million salaries were paid to executives, companies created by executives and hiving off millions of contracts, and blatant breaches in governance at the expense of policyholders. CLICO was an insurance company formed by Duprey in 1936 and so on. So, long story short, right? If you remember back in the day, in the what was called the Great Financial Collapse of 2008, right? Several movies, go and check Netflix, you'll see several movies about this and so on. There was a global financial crisis in 2008. The core of the company, which Duprey would have inherited from his father, from my understanding, was an insurance business. And he turned that insurance business, as it suggests here, up to 65 companies in 32 different countries. Some of them of note at the time, right? Very big companies and very big moves that I think were what we need to see more of in Trinidad and Tobago now, where we have entrepreneurs who are willing to innovate and take the risks and build businesses, not just domestic, but also abroad. We need to have brands that are globally recognizable, right? So by the time I was in 2008, I would have finished my master's at the time in Lockjack. And a big part of the discussion in Lockjack was businessmen like Duprey, who were able to take brands global and none more than the CL World brands, right? If I'm not mistaken, a few episodes ago we spoke about this, right? Where he had bought, Angostura was publicly listed, and I know he had bought out a major share or a major control of Angostura. And he took that investment. So Angostura was then for him the holder of a portfolio of alcohol brands all over the world, which makes sense to me. Like when you look at companies like Diageo or companies like Bacardi, it's not uncommon for companies to grow by acquiring other brands or building other spirits in a related business, right? It's pretty typical. So, going back to that old article, what Asher Javid is today, back in the day, you used to hear from a fellow named Anthony Wilson, right? That's the man who used to write all them articles back in the day. So, as part of its global ambitions, former executive chairman of CL Financial, Lawrence Duprey, set up a company called CL World Brands in 2003, shortly after he purchased the Scotch distiller Burns Stewart. As far as can be determined by examination of the annual reports of the company, Mr. Duprey and Fraser Thornton, the managing director of Burns Stewart Distilleries, served as the two CL World Brands directors during 2008. CL World Brands 2009 accounts state that Mr. Duprey resigned as a director of the company in July 2009, leaving Mr. Thornton as the only CL World Brands director who held the office as at December 31st. I'm looking for some of the brands they had here to tell you about, right? They had a Swiss company. They also had a German company. This article in helping me. What, Anthony? Some of the ones I remember the Burns Stewart with the Scotch. I remember they had Cruiser and Rums. I want to tell you they also had, it could be Belvedere vodka at the time. So he was expanding what would be a rum company, which Angusturo's core business is focused in rums, right up to today. And he was expanding it, which is what I always feel we need more of here. We tend to still be very government-centric. We think that we can govern our way into wealth and into a high standard of living and a peaceful country and so on. I don't believe that to be true at all. Maybe if you have a dictatorship, right, that just tell you this is what is money you can get and that's what you have to live with, and if you commit crime shall be committed against you, that kind of thing. But I always see the private sector as playing a critical role in growing the economy. The private sector, once we're in a situation where the government is the biggest employer and tax revenue is the biggest thing driving the economy, we're going to have a problem. And that's where we are today, right? We're heavily dependent on oil and gas. Oil and gas ain't looking like it. We like it, but it's ain't liking we too much these days. So it causing the economy to stagnate. And a lot of the problems that coming out of this systemic, they're coming out of that same thing. We can't hide behind a lot of transfer programs like DUDE and CPEP and URP, and we can't hide behind a whole bunch of construction projects and nothing projects that build box drain and fix. Let me not call them nothing projects, but those things could typically, choose my words carefully here, right? When I have a lot of money, right, as a government, I could use transfer programs to help me control different people. And if I could control people who are in control of a lot of people, like let's assume there's an area where we could safely assume, based on the living conditions and the level of opportunities and the level of education and the history of the community and so on, let's assume that we could all forecast that this could be a crime hotspot, right? It's a gang of this, gang of that, people fighting one another and so on, right? What I could do is, if I have a lot of money as a government, is find the, should I use the term community leader? Find the most influential person in that area who already have the youths on them lock, and then give that person several avenues to make legal money, to make government money. I could give you several box drain contract, big construction when I'm doing that. Buy a backhoe, buy a thing, buy some blocks. I go get the contract to do this, I will get the contract to do that. And, once I have that money and I could keep you there, that way I have you at bay, because you know where your money coming from. You know how you continuing to control your community, because you use the man with the contracts and you use the man with the money and stuff. So when you go in that community and you say, hey, all petty robbery here done, no more car thieving, no more thing, no more robbing people, you cannot go in town, you can't do this, you can't do that. Otherwise, I go deal with you. You fund a sort of policing of a depressed community. Does that make sense there? Anything I say makes sense? But when the money starts to run out, and the DUDE and the CPEP and the URP and those things of the day start to slow down, and the construction projects as a result of lack of money start to slow down. We can't do no set of big things. And these people who are well in control and proper leaders within their community, not community leaders, right? Leaders within their community. And they have to find ways to replace that income. And then they start to realize, like, this construction business that you're talking about here, this is very, very competitive because our big boys like NH and them have all the contracts with road paving and box rates. People like, what do you call the people and them, Junior Sammy Takusa? It's too much people in this space. I can't compete here. So what I will do is take my balance of money and get into the import-export business. Well, they're going to set me up here and have me saying things about main problems. Get into export-import banking, right? And you decide what product they get into export and import. The product could be substances, machinery. It could be people. So when I'm getting into the export-import business, then you lose, you have no more control over them financially. And if you try to heavy-hand these people, the response is typically heavy-handed. Let me go back to Narcos, right? It's one of my favorite series. The government tried to heavy-hand a man by the name of Pablo Escobar. And Pablo Escobar respond by bombing up all over the place. Let me not forget what happened there, right? Watch the series, right? Let me not forget that. So when you're empowered, let me use Colombia. I like that example. They're a little far. They can't reach me so far, right? They can't. When you empower the very leaders of the communities by giving them contracts and giving them money over the years, and then you can no longer give them that money, and they find means by which to earn that money to keep their control, and then you try to strong arm these people, you got to be careful how you walk when you're walking. You got to be careful how you talk. So that's the position we're in as a country right now, right? That was a very long explanation. It's a very simple but not simplistic, right? It's a big issue we're facing as a country today. But one of the ways out of that is for people who are enterprising, innovative, have a good appetite for risk and could follow through. People like Duprey. The society need more of these people and not less of these people. I like the little 1% talk, right? So I know I make joke about that. And the joke I'm making about it's serious too, right? But one of the things that has led to the 1% in Trinidad and Tobago, right? This group they call the 1%. One of the things that led to that 1% is some economic policies back in the early 80s, right? We could go back there. Where in the wisdom of the government at the time, they realized that, listen, entrepreneurship had to get where we need to go. Because the government don't have no set of money. Oil and gas run out. This song is familiar. Oil and gas run out. The government don't have the set of money. They can't control it. The same thing happened before, right? And one of the things they realize is that the import bill is too high. Is this song familiar? Like, too much people want US. Everybody wants to buy US. I want to remind you that the price for US at that point in time was 2-1, right? In what was a fixed exchange rate regime, right? So one of the discussions was we had to move this exchange rate because if it's only 2-1, if I wanted, you think about it for yourself with your salary, you're making loud money, right? With your salary, no. If US was 2-1, some of us here would travel every weekend. Some of us here done kind of traveling every weekend already. Some of us here would buy everything on Amazon and on Walmart. I mean, some of us done doing that already. You get my drift? So it's better for economy sometimes, all things being equal, to increase that exchange rate, right? So when our exchange rate is, let me put it this way. If tomorrow Trinidad exchange rate, all things remain the same, but our exchange rate go 100-1, we're going to travel less. We're going to buy on Amazon less. We're not going to do the same things we was used to. You can't afford to do it anymore. So in the wisdom of the men who was in charge in the 80s, they realized, hey, wait now, we can't just let these people continue to buy abroad. The foreign products on them are it's cheaper for the man who had to buy groceries home to go and buy Kellogg's and Lay's and these things because it's cheaper. It's expensive to buy it here. The prices here are rising and rising and rising. So if I could go buy my thing there, send them down in a barrel, this sound familiar? So the men and them had to say, wait, this barrel thing is crazy. They also had to say, wait now, everybody who have some kind of sense here running to go New York and work, people who had good degree, and nice, could contribute to building a society. Them go in there and mind people children. and lead them children here unminded. Your child here, you ain't minding them. You go and live in New York to go and mind somebody else's child. But that man had to do what he had to do. So when you see the problems we have today, you calculate now, right? What is the age of the problematic youths today? You check the age of their parents. And then check the age of them problematic people, parents now, and see if it have something to do with all the people who bust out in the 80s to go on. Remember the idea about barrel baby? You pay the price for everything we do, right? But somebody in charge back then say, here, what's the scene? We had to stop these people from buying all these set of Kellogg's and them kind of things. So what they come up with was something called a negative list, right? An embargo. And they put a series of products on the negative list saying that you cannot import these things into the country. You cannot. These things can't come in. And a lot of them were consumables. It was like groceries. And so when you hear grapes, apples and grapes is a Christmas time thing, that come out of the 80s because you could not get apples and grapes. And the first time they start relaxing it, in true Trinidad fashion, the first time they start relaxing it is when they say, oh man, I'm going to get apples and grapes and the little butter cookies. Oh, we going to enjoy with Christmas, you know what I mean? Everything here is around a festivity, you know. So they slowly but surely started to let some goods come back in for Christmas, and then they relax it and remove it completely where the goods could have came in. But in a time where it could not come in, it's not to say that people don't want cereal or people don't want snacks or people don't want fruits. You get me? So a lot of the 1% businesses that we talk about today, they're born out of that negative list. So when you look at what Sunshine Snacks was doing, Sunshine Snacks brands is just copies of things that Kellogg's was doing. You go and check it. Sunshine Snacks might as well be called Frito Kellogg's. Everything Frito-Lay have them have a version. Everything Kellogg's have them have a version. Because they make Cheerios, we make Cheerios. I mean, I can't remember what the hell we make. But you get where I'm coming from. We just make a version of what they were making there. And it was an important move to make, right? It's an important move to make because I don't know where we'd be without them companies today, and it's a long list of them, right? So if you're going to check on some college, every one of them companies. Because when the negative list was up and you could have bring them back in, you go and check the distribution companies and see who get all the deals to bring in all the brands that was off the negative list back then. Go and do your own research. I can't help you with that. I'm not a young man. I can't remember. But them fellas get a nice little runway to start to do manufacturing, because in manufacturing or in business generally, that thing is called the experience curve, right? When you're doing something for the first time, you're not great at it. And you tend to get better and better at it over time if you continue to do it. And your cost structure as a company is fall. So what they were allowed to do is to build their businesses. So people like the Sabgas and so on, so we could call names here, and people like the Lockjacks and so on, who the whole business school name after a man, right? The business school in Trinidad, the premier business school, my business school, name after a man who really benefit from negative list because you couldn't bring in them Cadbury and all them kind of chocolates and things. So men started make catch and men make what the next thing named Charles chocolates and all these things. Them men get to learn how to manufacture, copy what was there. Them fellas had a little bit of coin too, so them could run Miami like Angus Stewart, new CEO, check out what's going on over there and build businesses. When they say, and as it open back. And it's not exclusive to one race of people either, because I don't know if you could have bring in things how good, you know what I mean? When you see brands like Royal Castle and Sunday Basket and things, men benefit from the negative list. And then when it opened back, the people who was done making the money already and was in the best position to make deals with foreign brands, they make deals with the foreign brands. So when you see companies today, it's big conglomerate. And you can't see, you running your business, you can't see a way to become big like them. Understand where that come from? But many years, or alongside some of that, but many years later, we saw Duprey basically doing the same thing. And it's somebody that I admired. I was disappointed, to be honest, to see a lot of the Facebook comments talking about how wicked he was and thing, and people celebrating Duprey that. It makes me wonder, like, if people just remember. I don't know if people know the history. I understand that if you had a pension plan and you was expecting 11%, you will feel aggrieved. Or if your grandfather, I always remember going Petrotrin. We was going to play golf a day in Petrotrin golf course. And a man was upset. A man say he had his life savings in Clico. And he was supposed to get, what was a real big number to me, 600 and something thousand, whatever he say a big number, right? And he say he only get 80,000. I'll never forget that. 80,000 was where they were limiting some of the things because they had to pay back everybody. And I could understand where people would be aggrieved about it, but I'm a little bit surprised that Atali could say Duprey died lonely or his legacy is in question, because that 2008 financial crisis affected several companies all around the world, none more than banks. It was a mortgage crisis in the States. If you go and watch the movies that have to do with it, right? I think The Big Short is one of them that was talking about that 2008 financial crisis. And Duprey was affected by this. Trinidad and Tobago government is not the only government by a stretch that had to bail out the big financial institutions at the time. So when you have, one of the issues is this. You cannot allow big financial institutions to fail as a government, right? Because if they fail, this whole society could collapse. Go and check Argentina, go and check Greece and these people, right? You can't allow it to happen. Because if people who pay the pension, the simplest example is if people pay the pension all their life and then they're no longer of useful working age, but they can't collect the pension now and they don't have any money, guess what I see about them is you working who know what to see about your parents and do everything for them. So your ability to invest, develop, grow, innovate, it gets stunted. Your ability to finance your child education, you have to see about your parents. So your money starts to get thin, and it is a big setback in the development of our country. But what is more likely to happen is people will more likely try to get all the money out of the bank and migrate. People will leave. Nobody gonna stay here and deal with that. People try to go and find opportunities. We went through this before, right? This is not new. So at the end of 2009, I remember having an argument. Salute to my guy Hinkson and men like Prevat and so on. I remember arguing about this in a gallery by St. James, by Hinkson and St. James at the time. And the point I was trying to make with these fellas is good, top financial minds in the country, right? So it's hard for me to debate or argue anything with them. But one of my perspectives, as a budding and hopeful 1% of myself, a little biased towards businesses, right? But one of the things that I never agreed with or understood is why the government was going to bail out Clico, but for some reason they emboldened themselves to take ownership of the man company. Like in toto and ad nauseum, in infinite. You know my Latin song. It's almost like they just decide we own this now. You run into problems, we're gonna bail you out, and not even bail you out fully because they did not put enough money to secure everybody investment and so on, as some of the bigger banks had done in the States. When I read an article from Asha Javid talking about obscene salaries for executives and those kind of things, I don't know if I agree with any of that. It was the same thing they were saying about the banks back then. But if I am an employee as an executive, even if I'm executive level and I'm entitled to certain bonuses, I remember when Obama was in charge at the time and they had paid money into, is it Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac? One of the, however you pronounce them thing, however you say them, one of the first things they did, which it really looked bad, they should not do it, right? But they paid executive bonuses, which is be a slap in the face to the man who fighting up for 80,000. But if the executive was owed his bonus, the company could be in problems if he don't get paid his bonus anyway. But I think Obama and them had started restructuring it to ensure that companies put money into the bank first so that the average investor or banker or person with a savings account is protected. Then we could deal with the executives and the private jets and the bonuses and so on. So I was a little surprised that when they're trying to paint Duprey as this bad guy all of a sudden, when to me he should be lauded and celebrated as one of the most. It wasn't just Angus Stewart, it was him making a head first dive into methanol. Like no, when you look at in a time when the whole discussion was around oil, he was already shifting towards gas and making investments to give us a bigger domestic ownership of our energy resource. He was doing it since back then. The very one Woodbrook place that people see it now and have as this great thing was under him. Home construction was also one of his brands, and I find it disheartening that even you still talk about the Lockjacks or the Sabgas or the Fifi. Some of them is big names in business now, but they're trying to make it sound like Duprey. Duprey, nobody die lonely, sad. But going back to the idea of injecting money into Clico at the time, you're giving me money that I owe you, right? I had to pay you back in full with interest and so on. That sounds like debt financing to me. Debt financing involves you borrowing our money, whereas equity financing involves selling a portion of equity in the company. The main advantage of equity financing is that there's no obligation to repay the money acquired through it. So in other words, if you're buying a man company, you buy 10% of the company and you're giving that money and the company busts, you don't have nothing to get back, right? In the most basic terms. Typically with debt financing, if I put 10 million into your company and your company busts, you still owe me the money under a lot of circumstances. So it's confusing that the government tried to give debt financing, but not try, but take complete equity ownership of the company and decide what resources to sell off. And when I say take ownership, they put government representation on the boards of CL Financial and all the subsidiaries. And they decide what is to sell and what is to keep and how much it is to sell. The government recoup its money. In other words, imagine you pay back the bank, right? He was in some trouble. He was owing some people. They're coming to break your legs. Imagine you pay back the bank, you get your legs break, and you no longer own whatever vehicle. We say it's a vehicle you borrow the money for. They take your car, they take back the money, and your legs still broken. And it's sad that it sounds like exactly what happened to Duprey. And I hope that as they had a Anthony Wilson and they have a Asher Javid and they have people like Joel Julian and so on who are great business journalists, I hope that somewhere between now and when Duprey going to bury or last rites or the funeral or whatsoever is going to come, somebody had to retell this story, because the story as it looks on social media now is really a betrayal to one of the greatest business minds we've ever had as a country. At one point, he was running the biggest business in the country, from my understanding, right? And it was like, again, from me personally, he was always an inspiration to me. And I want to say salute to the great Lawrence Duprey. There's one of the other things, talking about the divisiveness and the whole duality of the thing in the episode is like, we say this term 1% again, as if it is exclusive to some race or some group of people or somebody who live in here or go in there. I don't know anything about it at all, and I don't subscribe to it whatsoever. I think anybody could be a Sabga, anybody could be as great as a Lockjack, anybody could be as great as a Duprey, and he was when people talk about things like representation matters, I think is an important thing where we don't paint our leaders, our great business minds. Yet be careful how we trying to paint them as a villain. And I didn't want to say this, but it's almost like they're trying to make the thing sound like it was a DSS. This rewriting of history is a hell of a thing. Anyway, I here to really play Kaiso, right? And again, seeing that we 1%ed, I want to play the 1% Calypsonian as if Calypso is just for somebody, or this is for somebody, or business is for somebody in particular. I want to remember this tune?
If Trinidad is a boat sailing on the earth, I go sail on it. Oh Lord, I go sail on it. Whether it fast or slow, wheresoever it goes, I go in with it. Tell them I go in with it. I go sail when the tide is slack. I go sail when the tide is near. If she go sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. A sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I'm going to push like bush. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float. sailing with the boat, sink or float, a sailing with the boat. Through hurricane and storm, hell or high water come. And when she needs a push, I go into push like push. If Trinidad is a boat, I go sail on it, sink or float.
Just a gentle reminder that we culture is for all of we. Everything in this land is for all of we. Business is for all of we. So it is so unfortunate that they're trying to be one of the greatest black businessmen. They're trying to pay the man a video, some guy a scoundrel. The man run into the same problem everybody run into when these fellas take over the man company. And up to now, he never get back control of the company in full. It's crazy when you think about it. As we talk about Angostura, I think I touched on this last week. This is something that I just want to continue to follow, right? As we done on business already. Only forgive me. We done on business already, and it's something that we should all follow because in talking about marketing, like marketing classes, especially at master's level, I always used to complain or say, we in Lockjack Graduate School of Business, but when we there, we talking about Sam Walton and them from Walmart and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And I was like, well, if we're in Lockjack School of Business, why don't teach you about Lockjack and Sapgar and the Hadids and the Rahals? Why don't teach us about local business people? So we can hear what they do, get inspired by them. How come we don't have these people coming and guest lecture in these schools like how Bill Gates could go to Harvard and lecture and stuff. I was one of the first graduates out of Lockjack Graduate School of Business. I'm going to put that out there one time, right? And Lockjack wasn't there for why wouldn't you be there for the first graduation? I think it was a $20 million grant he had given to the school. His name was on the school. How come you can come and talk to we? Like, come on, I think it would be so inspiring to meet these people, hear their stories and so on. And because I feel that way is I take it upon myself, no matter where our degrees come from, because the master's class I do now is from University of Bedfordshire, and I teach in strategic marketing, I think is the name of the course, and data analytics or something like that. So when I go in a course like that, you're going to hear about, is a rotation, Sasha Cosmetics, Chubby and SM Jillian, Angostura. You're going to hear about our legendary companies and our legendary businesses. I'm thinking, why come into I would just talk about these foreigners all the time? I want to talk about we. So anything that happened with Angostura, I'm acutely attentive. I want to know what is going on with them because, again, Angostura is one of our greatest brands, led by the flagship product that is bitters, right? But they say Angostura CEO moves to Miami, leaving Laventille headquarters. Now, people are saying that the article written in such a way that you will believe is a crime situation and them kind of thing. But he said here, Chief Executive Officer of Angostura Holdings Limited, Lawrence Duprey, I hope I pronounced that right, and I'm sure I didn't, will be operating from Miami, Florida, rather than the company's Laventille headquarters starting Monday. According to a material change disclosure to the TNT Stock Exchange posted this morning, the move is intended to support Angostura's key international business initiatives as Angostura intensifies its international expansion efforts and prepares to launch its newly styled premium rum range in the global market. The CEO, with the approval of the board of directors, will operate primarily from Miami. So again, like I was saying last week, it is couched as a move to set Angostura up for international or global expansion, right? Now, again, it's so sad that is against the backdrop of Lawrence Duprey passing, you know what I mean? If he was done sick already, when he hear this, he must get more sick and kick the bucket. It's sad. But there seems to be, more in the mortar than the pestle? Because now, after they said that last week, another article came out in the Guardian by Andrea Perez-Soba. It says Angostura changes role of CEO. Angostura Holdings Limited CEO Lawrence Duprey will start providing advice on the company's international expansion from Miami from Monday. In a material change disclosure, Angostura said the move is to intensify international expansion and so on. But the way the second article written is almost as if he's not going to remain as CEO. He said these are the main executives who led the company during the period 2018 to 2023 when the company was without a substantive CEO. So it's like like moves being made. I'm not sure. Is he going to remain the CEO, or is it the way they put it? Almost like when they say, "We'll start providing advice on the company's." It almost sounds like if he moving from CEO to external consultant. And some of these things delicate, right? Because remember, it's Angostura is publicly listed. Man has shares in Angostura and so on. And anything that you do to any move that you make that is volatile is going to probably negatively affect the share price. So it seemed like if this is some kind of managed situation happening here, and again, just because of my kind of affinity or love for Angostura bitters being one of the greatest local brands we have. Certainly the most global product that we have, right? You can find Angostura bitters pretty much anywhere in the world. And I went, I drink Angostura rum that's for export only. I can't remember the name of the rum. I think it's Raya or something like that. So Angostura continuing to penetrate the global market. But moves like these are moves that we had to continue to pay attention to, right? I'm more Calypso to play for, you know. How we feeling in a calypso-ish kind of mood? Every time I come here and I was always worried when I had to talk about too much heavy topics like like business and this kind of thing. But we can't do without it. We can't do without it. So in the spirit of the episode, where the real point of the episode is to say that our entire culture is for all of we. And anybody who telling you any part of the culture is for one ethnic group or one racial group or one economic group or one social group, we want to put a rest to that as fast as possible. And one of the things that you will hear people say about Calypso, right, is that people is talk about Calypso as if African Calypsonian is PNM and anybody saying Indian is going to support the UNC. And again, I just here to make sure that the people who feel the world now start when they come, start to understand what is going on. There was a gentleman that I used to go to see in Calypso Spectacular tent, right? You remember Calypso Spectacular? Upper Henry Street in the days of Calypso tent. And this was a man by the name of Cardinal. Now, if you're my age, when I say Cardinal, a dance supposed to come to your mind, right? It's supposed to be visualizing a dance. But I think this Cardinal song is one of the essence of Calypso to me. In other words, one of the things I didn't like about what happened with political Calypsos over the years is that because the political situation, again, is designed to divide and conquer, some of we as Calypsonians and lovers of Calypso fall for the divisiveness. And we start to pick a side. And when we come to gay bois, in words of the great Mr. Shack, we start to pick who we gain bois, and who bois make out a good wood, and who bois make out a wood that could break every time it swing. Before it hits you, it break, right? We start to say, well, we go jam the next side and we go defend we side, which is never to me what Calypso was about. Calypso was, I want to go back and listen to Mr. Shack Bois, right? And everybody get bois in that song. It's not a political party that thing get touched, right? Which to me is the essence of Calypso. What you ought to be doing is coming and standing up against what is wrong. So when the Tassa Association come and make a statement that is absolutely wrong, I expect the greatest Calypsonians we have to come with song fast that can dispel that and put that down. And this was one of the men who in the tent you're looking forward to for a serious Calypso or humorous Calypso. I never really see him smile when he perform at all. He have a very, very serious face. And this is Cardinal. Giving the UNC some stick, some bois, right? Well, under the UNC under Panday. Gain him some boy. We're taking the song. Right? It's Cardinal. The name of the song is Tree Woman.
Happening. We have so many Calypsos here this evening. I like to keep the show moving. The next performer coming up, this fella coming to tell us about something that happened in central Trinidad. I just call him, I dub him from last year, the Midnight Robber. That's the name I give him. But the song this year, named Tree Woman. The singer, Cardinal. Bring him on.
Your hair gray, we could see. But you're fit, you look strong.
Yes.
So not saying you did anything. Understand, I am just asking a leader of the opposition. That is a serious allegation. These 3 women say you're molested. 3 women with the same problem. We know the doctor said that you had to go, and nobody yet expect you would before you form the next government. Are you guilty of sexual harassment? We want to know, Mr. Padley.
Salute to Steelpan, one of the greatest prime ministers who ever touched the history of this country. I mean, rest in peace. Listen, it's hard to play Cardinal without playing this one, right?
In a jam. All over try, I can't get through and I don't know why. After I buy me material to make me clothes for this carnival, what a calamity, I can't get nobody to sew for me. No tailor, I have no tailor. No tailor, I have no tailor. I have a barber, I have a jeweler, motor car driver, but I have no tailor. The clothes I had, really they wasn't that bad. But you know me, always like to dress and look fancy. To help the poor and the needy, I keep them all out to charity. Now look at my face, nobody want to reciprocate. No tailor, I have no tailor. No tailor, I have no tailor. I have a barber, dermatologist. My nose she register, but I have no tailor.
I have no tailor, I have a jeweler. Go and look up that, right? That's Cardinal. No Taylor is his song, right? Because Cardinal is a man always well dressed and proper. When you see him, Cardinal come out in a towel. And if you know the dance, show people it, right? Show any dance if they don't know the dance, right? What I want to talk about next? We come inside and all, trying to manage time here. Let me just say real quick, right? I will talk about sports and then I'll give. If we finish in business, let me finish business. There is something that I saw happening recently that I'm happy about and I want to highlight, right? Headline says Tobago leaders elated as Abood offers shares in hotel project. The developer of the proposed Rocky Point Hotel project, John Abood, yesterday offered to sell one or two shares in the development company to Tobago or Tobagonians. Abood is the chairman of Superior Hotels Limited, made the offer at a meeting hosted by the Tobago arm of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association in Mount Irving Bay Resort. The meeting was held to bring members of the Tobago business community up to date with the latest development to the project. So them fellas gonna build a hotel. I tell you, when I went to Tobago, I went to the, what the hell the name of the thing in Tobago is again? The Radisson. Sleep Inn, Comfort Inn. One of them hotels is in Tobago, in the heart of Scarborough. And every time I see things like this, so all the best and best wishes on the Rocky Point Hotel. I hope the Trinidad, the Tobagonian business leaders are likely to buy into these one or two shares. Tobagonian business people is no joke. But when I went to the Comfort Inn, right, like I said, we were there for a weekend, we went for a wedding, and I hope I say anything right and all. You don't vex with me if I saying it wrong, right? Is it Comfort Inn? We went and I say, you know what, we were looking for places here, Comfort Inn. We were looking for places for breakfast. And we went to some nice places in Tobago. They had a few really good restaurants, and I like Tobago House of Pancakes and them things. But I say, you know, let me go somewhere different. And they have a Comfort in there. We will get a continental breakfast. And I'll say the breakfast was decent. It was okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I should have go somewhere a little more domestic and have breakfast, to be fair. But it was decent. And the hotel looked like a building. It almost looked like something was there before and they bought the building and make the hotel, right? But one of the things that I saw with this, right? We also saw an article this week where the sporting facility, the cycling facility in Couva, men are all force competition and this roulette machine rests down in the middle of the thing and so on, you know what I mean? It's a rough life, you know? It's a rough life. So, I say this to say that the Comfort Inn Suites in Tobago, they had people there for breakfast. It was looking like it happened, but it also looked like one of those things that you could come and see 10 years down the road. I'm wishing this on them, right? But we've all seen it before where I remember my first time going to Grafton, how busy, and it was a vibe, and it starts slowly fading from the limelight and becoming more of a, I ain't saying Grafton failing or not, I'm just saying that the energy changes. Same thing with Sandy Point. When you go Sandy Point, it used to be pan and it's a vibe, and then it sort of fade a little bit, and it not maintained as well as it used to be. I could say the same thing about Tobago Plantations, Tobago Hilton, which is now Magdalena Grand. When you first went, the place full of buzzing as an energy and a vibe, like a successful business. And then it starts to be a little more dreary and a little more dead and everything, and it change hands and all them things. You go on the golf course, there's less people and so on, right? And I could say the same thing about One Woodbrook Place. That was top of the top back in the day. 1-bedroom apartment, millions of dollars it was. And now you're seeing where, you know, you inquire about One Woodbrook Place, the common spaces not so great, all kind of different issues. The elevators are thing leaking and so on. There's a tendency here where we believe in infrastructure. I don't know if it's the Manning Miami philosophy and them kind of thing to build up, make ourselves into the financial center and make a little Miami down on the port and them kind of thing. But we tend to build these great facilities. We could list them. CPL coming just now. There one down in South of here. It costs 100 billion to build and going to cost 200 billion to fix. You know, we have one on the highway where built for children, used for COVID. We tend to build these great facilities that look shiny and nice and new up front. And then over time, maintenance starts to become a problem. And you see a big building that don't have life, it have a kind of depressing feeling. I don't know if I'm alone on this, right? But the building is feel eerie. It don't feel the same. And once it starts to get that feeling, it starts to become less and less attractive to go to. And the only way to recover that feeling is actually to build a new building or rebrand and repurpose that whole thing. We've seen it many times before. So I'm not saying this to cast any aspersions on the Rocky Point Hotel. I hope they do well and I hope people buy into it. But I also saw it with the Gulf City Mall in Tobago. Energy, full this, and then it started to become I'm not using the term white elephant, right? But it started to feel different. And I couldn't help but look at this thing that happened in Tobago now with all the promise that going into this and people who will buy shares and hopefully do great. I couldn't help but think about that against the backdrop of Movie Towne, right? A little bit of a long story here, right? So we saw a few weeks ago Derek Chin would have come into the news with owing the taxman, right? And then we see soon after that he came, well, this is not even a month ago, with the thing with the other own BIR, maybe a month or two. And then we see it now where people come to foreclose. I keep saying Plip Deco, right? I want to make sure I get this right because Plip Deco wrong like hell. There's a Port of Spain. So let me read from the Express here. This is from Anna Ramdas. Headline says, Chin, Movie Towne levy was a big shock. So if you don't know what this story by now, after the taxman was trying to move on him and say how much of millions of dollars he owed the taxman, this week, the company who's responsible for this facility, where they have to pay rent to for Movie Towne, Port of Spain, a little thing went viral on social media showing men they come to lock doors for Movie Towne. Movie Towne is a big compound, and we had to lock down. But let me read it. It said the action to repossess the Movie Towne Cineplex in Port of Spain was an act of thuggery that caused great embarrassment and loss of money, said chairman of Trinidad Commercial Development Company, Derek Chin. On Friday, landlord for the Port Authority, the Port of Spain Infrastructure Company, Posinco, I keep saying Plip Deco, it's Posinco, sent bailiffs who descended on Movie Towne at Invaders Bay to repossess the complex for what Posinco said was $10 million owed in rent. They also served tenants letters stating that Posinco had exercised his rights under the head lease to take possession of the premises and rent should be remitted to the company. In a telephone interview with the Express yesterday, Chin said this caused him great embarrassment. He said it severely impacted the business on Friday evening into Saturday. There were fewer people going to Movie Towne. He said the C3 Cineplex at Current, South Trinidad, did better than the Port of Spain complex, which has never happened before. We have built an iconic brand. This is a Trinidad and Tobago company that has done very, very well. People recognize what we have done. It adds a new dimension to our company. He said the country was suffering from a lot of darkness in terms of crime and the deterioration of family life, and Movie Towne brought families together. I agree. Chin noted Movie Towne employs over 1,200 people and over 2,500 are employed at the entertainment and shopping complex. Keep them numbers in mind for me, right? Movie Towne employs 1,200 people and over 2,500 people are employed at the entertainment and shopping complex, right? Just multiply that by 3 for me in terms of our family size, right? Remember them numbers. He said he was hopeful there would be resolution in the courts today. The levy action came as a shock, Chin said. We were having talks in goodwill and then you want to come close me down without negotiating. Chin said every 5 years there are discussions about the renewal of the rental rate and the last agreed to pay $5 a square foot. $5 a square foot. $5 a square foot is cheap. $5 a square foot, as he noted, the property spans over 50,000 square feet. I'm assuming that you're just paying rent for lands here, right? Not developed, so $5 a square foot, I suppose I shouldn't say cheap. He said during the COVID-19 pandemic, because of the imposition of public health regulations, businesses were destroyed as many were forced to shut down and tenants were unable to pay anything. They received a reduction in rent. He said, however, as a businesses, we're trying to rebound. Posinco reinstated the full rent at 100%, which we objected to. So they're going through their issues, right? And then Posinco made a move on them on Friday. My stance on this might be a little predictable, so I'm going to put you through that, right? But I am pro-business. I don't understand. Can I make a juxtaposition? I also saw an article here. Let me go to that, right? Let me just see if I could do this in 5 minutes. Because I am not sure if when I talk about my defense of business, if it comes across as trying to defend the wealthy or speak on behalf of the haves, and try to, well, the hads, he had. But it don't look like he have no more. You know, let me read another article for you now before we get back to Movie Towne. Sadness in Marabella as Carrat Shed closes down. The permanent closure of Carrat Shed on September 1st will mark the end of an era in Marabella. To the people of Marabella, Carrat Shed was never just a bar. It was an institution, one which helped to nurture the community, provide entertainment, and most of all, bring about social equity. The foundations Carrat Shed initiated and funded in the spheres of sports, education, and culture are now in jeopardy, causing additional sadness to the beneficiaries. Nearby residents are calling for someone else to take over these activities. Owner Alan Campbell, 76, told the Newsday in an interview on August 16th he regrets his decision, but after the closure of the former state-owned Petrotrin in 2018, coupled with the start of the pandemic shortly after, and having suffered a 2-year closure, the 34-year-old business is no longer viable. Keep in mind that them fellas in the heart of Marabella down there, right? So when a big part of them would be Petrotrin workers who come in to take a lime and a drink and a eat, right? As president of the Lotto Agents Association, Campbell said he would continue to run that aspect of his business, so the lotto machine will keep open, but the bar closing down, or the Carrat Shed closing down. One of his loyal customers and treasurer of the Marabella Festival Committee, Lisa Hollingsworth, was close to tears as she contemplated the future of the Children's Carnival, which Campbell mainly funded. He has run the Children's Carnival for the last 30 plus years, and I believe this year would have been our last. I'm totally disappointed and sad. This is not how it was supposed to end. This is a real heartbreaking situation. This is my home. I'm a single woman, and it's the only place I come if I want to have a drink. If at some point I cannot get home, someone here will take care of me. But you see, he's drunk. You're drunk in the place, Lisa? Lisa say, if for some reason I can't get home or overdrink, somebody here will take care of me. Call someone to take me home. Always a philanthropist. From an early age, Campbell was a strong advocate for social justice, something for which he spent 242 days with 16 others behind bars. The person say behind bars, but in brackets, not like Carrat Shed. This person, a comedian writing this article, as a political prisoner during the 1971 state of emergency. Went on to talk about his time as a trade unionist and so on, talk about what led him to create Carrat Shed and so on. Go and check the Newsday for the article on the closure of Carrat Shed. What the hell Carrat Shed and Marabella have to do with Movie Towne? We have a tendency. Look at the tone of this article versus the tone of talking about Duprey passing away, right? Two black businessmen, right? Different scale, different fields, different levels, and so on. Look at the tone of those articles and how different they are. With the sadness, the immediate response to what it is, what it meant to the community, his contribution to the community, calling the business owner by name. It's by no brand name again. We're talking about him, man. What you do for thing? What you do for, well, he get Lisa home. But you also do a lot for the Kiddies Carnival. We don't know what will happen next year. So when I talk about businesses and I come in defense of businesses, a business is just a part of the community, just like an individual, right? Just like how you use a part of your community and you do things and help the community. The community need a lot of things to go on, and business is just one of those things. But I think that somewhere along the line, we tend to only feel that way about very small, I want to say almost like struggling businesses. Like we recognize what those businesses do when you could walk in and see the owner and trust a bear or trust we like that. We respect that, or we understand what that does for the community. But then when you get too big, you start to become the enemy. I think it's a mindset that we had to change. So when I look at Carrat Shed, and the comments on Carrat Shed and the sadness and everything that people had to say is only glowing remarks when the business closing down, right? Whereas when I looked at the comments on the direction and Movie Towne, who could be closing down too, right? I don't want to call that on nobody, but who knows if he will what will happen now, right? But there's a certain celebration and happiness and reverence. Every day a revelry. Everybody's only working and only paying nobody and only making only paying all the tax and only paying all the rent. And there's a certain joy when a business like that closes down. A business that directly hiring 1,200 people, multiply that by 3-4 people, if you want to look at how much going towards a family. So the much children them 1,200 people have. Indirectly, 2,500 people working there. Again, they have businesses that renting from them. So it's like, if you have a little business like Carrat Shed, and sorry to say little business, but if you have a business like Carrat Shed, and you have individuals or people within a community saying, hey, or they help so much things, what going on, like, you know, how we go through with this. Like, can we imagine how much people like Movie Towne would have helped? I'm not sure if we see it that way. We see it as this this sinister person in this cartoon who have a suit and tie and oppressing everybody around them. And I don't know, I don't see it that way. Maybe because I have the same aspirations, not the sinister part, but I want our businesses to be huge. I want them to be big. We could do so much more. I will do better, yes, and that's my intention. I don't think anything wrong with that at all. But I could do so much more for so much people. Has, you know, I don't know. We have this tendency to look at it like almost like we're glad Movie Towne failed. So when I look at the businesses in let me go back to my example in Magdalena and Tobago. I feel sad when I pass there and I see the building lacking life. Is that what we want to see on that foreshore? We want to be passing on that foreshore all the time and see what used to be Movie Towne and talk about that like that's what it was back in the day. I always remember like my parents and people who from back in the day, well, it's at Carnival City, and even we talk about Spectrum and them things is no more. Or even I play songs here from Calypso Spectacular today and them things, and those things are things of the past. Like we there's not even a I was going to say like not memorial is the word I'm looking for, but there's no history. There's nothing that tells you this building was here. You know, it just fades to black. One of the things I remember about that was some article I was reading on a few episodes ago, and they were talking about Brother Resistance having a shop inside the drag mall. That shop or that business is such an institution, such a part of Port of Spain, such a big part of our history, not just in Calypso but in Rapso. And they start for so many artists, or just a place where people go and argue and contemplate and come up with things. And it's just gone. It's just no more. So when I see the celebratory tone of the what looking like down days for Movie Towne, I started to wonder, because I remember when Movie Towne in Shogunas closed down, I spoke about that here, and I feel like at that point in time something wasn't right when you see Movie Towne closing down. But I just pointing out that that's something that we had to rethink. We had to rethink the way we look at it. Because number one, it is almost as if we see it as something we cannot accomplish. And like me or you can't have a business big like Movie Towne that is all over the place and employ plenty of people and make plenty of money and do well and leave legacy for generations and so on. I think we see it as too distant from us and outside of our reach. And it's very, very similar to me to the Tassa people who want to say like Steelpan is not of us. Why business can't be of us is just another thing, you know what I mean? It's just another aspect of life, another thing that we could do and pursue and accomplish, you know. And I feel just how I feel Lisa's sadness for not being able to be drunk in the Carrat Shed no more when we carry her home. I'm feeling sad about this Movie Towne thing. I don't know if people ain't feeling no way. I feeling sad about Movie Towne. I can't believe we're in a position where, if you remember when Movie Towne was built, it was so much promise. It's just like that Comfort Inn or this Rocky Point Hotel. So much promise and so much joy. And you walk into Movie Towne for the first time and you see this. I remember when I walk into that atrium and it's so impressive. It's something like, wow, we could have this in Trinidad. Make me feel different as a Trinidadian. And now we're celebrating the fact that it's going to close down. And I ain't talking about just me and you. I'm talking about some of the biggest commentators online celebrating the fact that it's closing down. I don't like it. I don't like that. I feeling sad. And he, as a businessman, have a choice to make. And Guyana's economic prospects or their economic outlook is way better than Trinidad and Tobago at this point. This man is from Guyana. And he has a Movie Towne over there that probably doing good, but he had the problems paying rent and he had the problems paying tax and so on. And it may well be that he could basically say, well, listen, I can't do this no more. You know, it's too much. I can't. And then he go and he put his efforts and focus on Guyana and left we here. I don't think that's a good thing at all, you know. So this episode was really about the dualities of the thing, because that Carrat Shed versus Movie Towne, or the way Duprey treated versus Carrat Shed is a hell of a duality that I see in here today. And if we learn anything, when you talk about Kai like Chang as being the person who is a Chinese man, you know what I mean, of Chinese descent. So the idea that we're looking at the Chinese man, this is for them. That the business and thing is for them. You know what I mean? And the 1%, the Syrian, that is of the business is for them. Steelpan is for black people. And the Tassa is for Indian people. I don't like none of it, to be honest with you. I think as a Trinidadian, all of it is for all of we. And I have evidence of that.
This is a soca Tassa jam. Man, play the thing now. Come on. That is it, yeah. I'm from West Havana, red hot with fever, Indian bazaar, and they jamming the soca, jamming the soca. Coffin Capra, pull out the Tassa, and start jamming the soca, jamming the soca. When the music sounding sweet, and the crowd getting a heat, if you hear how people fall, business and don't stop at all. Roll up the Tassa, roll up the Tassa, big Tassa. Oh, better roll up the Tassa, roll up the Tassa, big Tassa. Rip up the Tassa, big Tassa. Wrap up the Tassa, big Tassa. Oh, better. Ah, boy, things warming up. Come on, big Tassa. People from afar, Pinal and Cuba, come together and they're jamming the soca, jamming the soca. A section from Davy, join and start to play Indian love way, and they're jamming the soca, jamming the soca. Ay, ay, ay. Well, the old man getting hot, on the Tassa start to cut. See Rafiq from Valley Line, and the Lahin start to wine. Roll up the Tassa, big Tassa. Oh, better roll up the Tassa, roll up the Tassa, big Tassa.
Oh, better rough up the Tassa. I wonder if she's talking about coming up beside Tassa. You ever thought about that? Salute the great Rupert Ram. Salute! All of my culture is for all of we. Last but not least, I want to talk to Paolo Kernahan real quick, right? I see Paolo Kernahan put out that thing the other day, article. I say, well, hey, if I have some people listening to me every week, I'll let her reach out to Paolo Kernahan and talk to him from a 23rd of August. Our podcast still fit for purpose. I want to know why this is happening. Paolo say, I love a good podcast. Know any? Please tell him you know a good one too. He said, lately I've been finding it hard to keep these podcasts down. There's one basic shortcoming endemic among many of them. For several practitioners of this updated format, the interview skills are dodgy. It's deeply frustrating to arrive at the cul-de-sac of a 2-hour podcast having endured a succession of circles of spun enthusiastically by the host while learning nothing from a drawn-out, uninspired, rudderless conversation. Let me tell you something. I have many goals in life and many things that I want to accomplish, but one of them is to stay on the good side of Paolo Kernahan, because you see, when this man have a way with words where when he deal with you and you get a tongue lashing and a berating from, you're bound to go back in a hole and you're bound to crawl back into somewhere. Why you gotta talk to people like this? You know what I mean? It's rough. He said podcasts are or were a great way to make sense of issues impacting our lives. Some discussions help you appreciate how a particular topic might directly veer into your lane of life without you ever having considered it. how climate change affects your grocery bills, cumulative effect of commuter stress on mental and physical health. He said, my beef is that many podcasters don't apply sufficient rigor to their content. The result is usually a meandering mess. So I want to tell you this, right? As from now on, I'm taking this article, I'm sticking it up in front of me where I record here because I will not be one of the people that Paulo Kernahan come to call no meandering mess. You're trying to break people's spirits. But again, salute to Paulo Kernahan. I wish he would do in podcasts. Like, this is the kind of mind that we need. When I talk about Dominic Pasado, Paulo Kernahan, the kind of experience these fellas have, I wish they would be people on the podcast circuit. But maybe it's part of my work to come and talk to some of these people. Not Paulo, you know, because I'm not going to be one of the people. Imagine being in the middle of an interview and then you ask a question, excited, and you say, what meandering mess of... I'm not dealing with that. I could do without them kind of problems in my life to break my spirit. But salute to Paulo Kernahan. And I have to tell you that over the next few weeks, and talking about interviewing and so on, as my Star Broadcasting class culminated last weekend, salute to Nigel Nicholson on Star Broadcasting, I had the pleasure of doing some live podcasting on the class because we used to just go in and talk about podcasting and what it is and what kind of equipment and what kind of software you might need and how to do it and organizing topics and how to plan and all that, so that Paulo Kernahan do come and hit your sentence like basically learning nothing from a drawn out, uninspired, rudderless conversation. To avoid all that, I said, well, hey, we get a chance to do a practical session where we could sit through a podcast and get some of my feedback. Imagine now I had to critique people about their podcasting style. So what I decided to do was to actually sit with each person and do a sort of interview style mini podcast, right? 5 to 10 minutes, nothing long, where I could get a feel for their on-camera presence, the enthusiasm while we're talking about topics, the preparation, how well they speak and all that, right? Imagine I critique people on that. But we did it. Salute to all of them in Star Broadcasting. I told you about some of them last week. So what I plan to do, and maybe somebody could send these to Paulo too, send it to him separate. If the critique good, I'm taking it. If it's not good, I don't want to hear nothing. Now, next week we could deal with that, right? I ain't going to break my spirit here, but I will be publishing over the next few weeks all of those episodes. I think we did about 10 together, and they were really, really very interesting. It's real mini conversations. There's nothing like 2 hours. So for all the people who like to complain that 2 hours is too long and it's talking forever, you're getting some 5-minute ones, and it's with different personalities, different backgrounds, and different folks who I would love to talk to in more depth. But it's a part of their course and their routes to graduating the course and so on. So it would be great if, as I publish those, especially people who are custom commenting on YouTube, and the ones who don't say nothing either. I don't know most of the people who listen. It would be great if you all could give some feedback on those episodes as I publish them. Over the next 2 weeks, is about 10 of them that will come out. Aiming for Friday to start putting them out. So look out for that now, and give me some feedback on that. Let me know what you all think about it. And if you might want to hear a podcast from some of those people that I spoke to, I think you will. My time is up. My time is up. There's no meandering mess here. I did promise you all that I will end with a song, and in the spirit of independence this week is only fitting.
Trinidad is my land, and of it I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just talk it bad. But I know all of them we running them out. Don't know where they're talking about. They would paint your black every day, and the right things they would never say. Like our sportsmen being rated among the best. Our scholars have sit and passed every test and put us right alongside the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real piece of no man's mind.
They just talk some nonsense. Me ain't know where they're doing it for. About so much violence, man, you would swear that we fighting war. Of course, we have we delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, things that I say about here is really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me, for our policy stands for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely isle, every day you see him, he always have a heart to smile. When his time is up to depart, he would say with pride in heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I'll go send my wife. And then he'll tell you, he really wants her to come, to drink some rum and have plenty fun, in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as foreigners do we call, it doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends, we cater for one and all.
This is for the Tassa Association.
All of them were talking, they either drunk or they steering mad, or maybe they forgetting Mr. Universe belongs to Trinidad. And yet we have men of talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the mighty sniper won't tell you why. Now our Steelpan is the best talent in this world. By calypsos or stories are told, which is written to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this lovely land of my book, small but overwhelming in world. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest frolic on earth.
We'll see you all in next week. Bye. Stay safe. Be productive. All the nice things I like to say in the end. Bye.